you're doing she's going to speak to the chat. But she's going to thank you. Irish. We begin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church in Providence, where we love beyond belief. As always, wherever you find yourself on life's journey, whatever faiths you have found and lost, whatever you wear, whomever you love, find hope and inspiration right here with us. You are welcome here. Welcome, welcome home. It is very good to be together. For those of you who don't know, our senior minister is on sabbatical, Reverend Liz McClay, and I am your sabbatical minister. And today, our message will be delivered by Joan Richards, who is the president of our Prudential Committee, which some of you may not even have known that we had one of those or what it is. But Joan is surely going to fill you in. Everything you ever wanted to know about church but were afraid to ask, you get to know today. So, again, it is good to be together. And friends, this is the day we have been given. Let us live well in it.
morning. My name is Kim Noble, and I'm the worship associate for today's service. I ask that you join me in reading the opening words and chalice lighting found in your bulletin.
This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path towards harmony, justice, and hope for all.
Today we light also our sabbatical chalice and take a moment to silently send our thoughts and care to our senior minister, Reverend Liz, while she is away for reflection and renewal. No, she too kindles her own chalice each Sunday morning and takes a moment to send her thoughts and care here to all of us. May this sabbatical be fruitful for us all, and may our reunion be a joyful fulfillment.
This is one of our favorite traditions here at First U, something we missed for the past couple of years, the time where we get to stand and go hog wild and greet everybody you see. You get to even come out of your seats and go see your friends over there and over there. So everyone, let's greet one another heartily. My friends, save some of that energy for those people at home. The cameras are right there. Be sure, let's send our love and our care across time and space to all those people at home. Good morning and welcome, everyone, everywhere.
I'm back, and ask that we all join together in saying our covenant. We, the members of the First Unitarian Church of Providence, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the light we know by many names, and with gratitude for our deep connection to each other and to the larger web of existence, covenant to walk together in our search for truth, seeking the paths of wisdom, compassion, and justice. And now, please stand as you are able and join me in singing hymn 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
Lord. upon a time, there was a tiny, little, itty-bitty, very small, tiny little god named Tiny. Tiny lived their life hearing stories of all the big gods. And let's face it, the little god was jealous. Tiny knew they needed some kind of special spark of an idea that would make their existence meaningful. After watching humans for a long time, Tiny hit upon something that just might work. Something to make people think, yeah, that God Tiny has a really good idea going. This was it. This was going to make Tiny famous. Are you ready? Yeah. Here it is.
A big idea.
You are not alone. Tiny took the form of a very light breeze. And in a voice so quiet, each person heard it only in their mind, the god said, "You are not alone. You are not alone." People loved it. It was perfect because who doesn't want to hear that? Pretty soon, Tiny was comforting people all over with, "You are not alone." Every evening, the itty-bitty god took the form of the breeze and whispered it in people's minds. Until one day, Tiny encountered someone who wasn't comforted at all. When Miriam heard Tiny's words in her mind, instead of feeling comforted, she felt agitated. Something was just kind of off about it. She kept saying it to herself over and over again. "You're not alone, you're not alone." She tossed and turned. She couldn't sleep. In the morning, she went to read the paper and found herself drinking in every single story. She was only halfway through when she found herself crying. "I'm not alone," she said. "I'm connected to every one of these people. They live in my town, my country, my world. They're scared sometimes, and so am I. They hurt like I hurt. I am not alone. I can help." Tiny was surprised. It had not occurred to them that someone would think of it that way. So Tiny kept watch over Miriam to monitor this interesting development. Miriam and a coworker met online in a meeting and talked about a law they hoped the Senate would pass. And Tiny noticed when Miriam wrote a letter to her senator right away. Tiny noticed that Miriam had tears in her eyes when she joined in her congregation's worship on the computer. And she heard her favorite hymn through the small speakers. Miriam got out her phone and made an extra donation to her congregation.
Text to give.
But most importantly for Tiny, they noticed when Miriam got a phone call one evening from a friend she hadn't heard from in a long, long time. His voice was shaking. "I'm having a hard time," he said. He started to tell her about his troubles, but he began to cry. Miriam got herself comfortable in her favorite chair and said, "Take your time. I'll stay on the phone with you. You're not alone. I'm here. I'm here." Tiny heard those words like an echo. "You're not alone. I'm here. You're not alone. I'm here." Would you say it with me? You're not alone. I'm here. In that moment, Tiny knew Tiny was nothing without Miriam's hands, Miriam's heart, Miriam's spirit. And Tiny knew what they wanted. What the world needed more than anything was what Miriam had learned to give. So, Tiny went to work. Instead of just spending evenings spreading the gospel of "you're not alone," the tiny gods spent their night times doing it too, and their mornings and their afternoons. Pretty soon they were spending every moment doing it, until Tiny became the breeze itself. And that is why there are no paintings of Tiny, no statues, no holy books, just a breeze, a low voice, and many, many helping hands, loving hearts, and caring spirits. You can hear the echo if you listen closely. You are not alone. I'm here. You are not alone. I'm here. The end.
You are not alone. We are all here. She didn't tell you Tiny used to be really big, but then he lost a lot of weight about a year ago. And Tiny said, "It's time to share the joys and sorrows of this beloved community." These are offered by all of you and written in this book. We light a candle from our Transylvanian candlestick, and we record our joys and our sorrows. You all still? Yeah? Michael? He's going to turn it up, but I will speak up too. These are the joys and sorrows of our congregation. We will begin with a candle for a quick recovery for Joe Fizzler, who is recovering from an illness. A candle of appreciation for the connections made in this sanctuary, for the love, the hope, and most of all, the kindness I've experienced here. A candle of gratitude and wonder for Hurricane Joyce Buber, for all of the work she put into the Women's Alliance yard sale, along with many other formidable women. a candle of thanks to my husband of 22 years for the memories and love on our anniversary yesterday. That, by the way, is from my husband. Yeah. A candle of concern for our friend Wilma of our partner church, who is not feeling well. Wilma is the matriarch of the Sant'Ingiasa congregation over in Transylvania. And a candle of gratitude for all the artists who brighten our eyes with their art. You've noticed the new exhibit in the atrium. Be sure to check that out. Like us now, to join our hearts and minds in the spirit of meditation and prayer. And I want to remind you that if you have lost someone this year during the time of silence, by all means stand or raise a hand and let us honor those people in silent tribute. To begin, I'm going to ask you to bring yourselves present. Let your bodies relax. Feel yourselves sitting in your pews. Start to quiet your breathing. Let your shoulders droop. Please take a slow, deep breath with me. And again. One more. Just keep breathing while we listen to Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and they call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from the branches, and the tiny breeze says again, "You're not alone. Keep faith," they say. You too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Yes? Good. I'm Joan Richards, and I'm here in my capacity as the president of the Prudential Committee, which is the governing body of this church. The Prudential Committee, which is commonly referred to as the PruCom, has 12 members, many of whom are here, and I want you to have a chance to at least look at them. There's Odile Matioda, who is the past president of the church and remains as an advisor to me, Joan Richards, the current president of the church. And then there is Hilary Sammons, who is the president-elect, and we'll spend this year figuring out what that means. Claire Rosenbaum is the clerk or recording secretary. John Dooley, who I suspect is still on the Cape, is the treasurer, and Rick Richards is the assistant treasurer. Then there's Dana Borelli-Mori, who is in charge of personnel, and Peter Larman, who's in Paris at present, but he will spend the rest of the year working with us on strategic planning. And then there are the members of the committee who serves as liaisons to the other committees of the church. And you can find those committees grouped into what is called ministries in your order of service. Allison Green is liaison to the Ministry of Spiritual Development. Lisa Votes, who I don't think could make it. Is she here? No. Is the liaison to the Ministry of Social Justice. Louise Sloan is liaison to the Ministry of Community Life. And Andy Wilby, Andy here? There he is liaison to the Ministry of Stewardship. All of these people are good contact points if you want to know more about the ministries in various areas, if you want to set up a committee, if you want to join a committee, and so forth. They're there. All of which may be seen as a manifestation of a very strong tradition of lay leadership, which is what gives all of us boundless opportunities to bring our interests and talents to bear on the life that we share in this church. I, for my part, find it a great honor to find myself the president of this organization. But at the same time, the position is pushing me into areas that are unfamiliar and at times uncomfortable for me. The most obvious of these is church finances, which I have long recognized as important, but otherwise paid very little attention to. But now, as the name Prudential Committee makes clear, I am ultimately responsible for the finances of this church. My learning curve in this area is at once steep and very interesting. And I'm going to try to share it with you in times to come in a column called Money Matters that will soon begin appearing in the Meeting House Times. So there we have it. So there you have it, the basics of how this church is organized and some sense of what it means to be its president. But what you don't have is the answer to the obvious question of why in the world I said yes when asked to take on the task. Certainly, this is a question that my many unchurched friends ask, and to be honest, it can keep me awake as well. As I turn it over in my mind, I find that the closest I can come to an answer lies in a story. That story begins in my religious upbringing in Seattle, Washington. the Reverend Peter Rabel was the minister of the University Unitarian Church, and my mother was deeply committed to his ministry of social justice. There was more to it than that, though. My mother's Unitarianism was a fierce reaction against the high church Anglicanism in which she had been raised. We children could basically ignore this dynamic, except on Easter, when my grandmother, aunt, and cousins would sail off in full finery, leaving us Unitarians at home to deal with my mother's sullen silences. The rest of the time, being a Unitarian meant going to Sunday school, where every week we sang the hymn with which we opened this service. There, I remember learning about the monotheism of Akhenaten in the 5th grade, traveling on visits to the church across the street in 7th grade, and attending liberal religious youth, also known as LRY, in high school. And after all that, I distinctly remember the deeply reassuring letter that Peter Rabel sent me in my miserable first semester at college. Nonetheless, it took a decade or two of ups and downs before I fully embraced my position as a Unitarian again. This commitment has always been a cipher to all of my cousins, none of whom still attend the Episcopal Church, and to both of my 2 Unitarian-raised brothers. Robert, who went through Sunday school 2 years behind me, takes every opportunity to quip, "We were raised Unitarian," whatever that means. While Peter emerged from his experience as such a fierce atheist that he doesn't even bother to tease me about it. As for me, although I love both of them deeply, I've never seen any point in discussing religion with either of them. All of which may serve as a backdrop to the story, which began about 10 years ago. Then, on an otherwise nondescript weekday, the telephone rang in my office. It was my brother Peter, calling with the awful news that his 30-year-old stepdaughter, Jasmine, had suddenly and unexpectedly died. The situation was horrible, and Peter was in desperate despair. From 3,000 miles away, I did my best to comfort him, but it was such a hopeless task that I basically wondered why he'd bother to call me, of all people. But then he explained, "We have to have a memorial service, Joan, and I just don't know what to do. Marie, who is Jasmine's mother, is a Catholic. George, who is Peter's partner and Jasmine's father, is a Christian but doesn't go to church. I don't think Jasmine had any religion, but her husband is a Hindu. And you know about me. But we need to have a service. What can I do?" "Well," I said, "call the Unitarians." "Oh, Joan," he said, "I can't do that. I haven't been to church since I was in the 9th grade. "Yes, you can," I said. "Call the Unitarians. They will take care of you." "But who should I call? Do you know any of them out here?" he asked. "No, I don't," I replied. "But Google Portland Unitarians. They will take care of you." And to make a long and very sad story short, the Portland Unitarians did take care of Peter and George and Marie and Jasmine's husband. They answered Peter's call, identified the perfect space, and helped Jasmine's grieving family craft a service that left everyone feeling somewhat more at peace. The way the Portland Unitarian Church, this is Portland, Oregon, answered Peter's call may be taken as an answer to the question of why I would agree to be president of this church. Mandy's story pointed to presence as the important corollary to loving sentiments. In these days, religious institutions, be they churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, gurdwaras, can often seem irrelevant until, that is, they aren't. I couldn't help but notice that last week it was the Episcopal Church that took in the refugees that were dumped on Martha's Vineyard. For me, this alone is enough to explain why I agreed to do what I can to be sure that this church is present when people need it. For me, this story is also the answer to why I've remained in the Unitarian Church. Peter did not really need to call me to know that the Portland Unitarians were the place to turn for a service that supported all of the different religions that converged in Jasmine's life. It is just this kind of eclecticism that we Unitarians are known for, and which my brother Robert is making fun of when he says that he was raised Unitarian, whatever that means. I never bothered to rise to the bait of his teasing because I can't, in the terms of his comments. I equally can't explain my Unitarianism in the terms of the perennial question, but what do Unitarians believe? What I can do is rejoice in the commitment to finding common ground that supported Jasmine's religiously diverse family in their time of need. What I can also do is rejoice in all of the many people, communities, and groups within this church who are all doing their best to do the same for each other and for the communities in which we live. At this point, I was planning to launch into a discussion of the words that are printed on the front of your order of service. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one. This statement comes to us from a letter St. Paul wrote to the Galatians almost 2,000 years ago, and as they're written, it certainly sounds like a statement that could be embraced by a 21st century Unitarian. Beyond noting that, however, I don't have the time to explain what they mean to me and my sense of this church in this talk. Those who are interested in pursuing those questions may bring their coffees and join me in the auditorium after service. The auditorium is through this thing, through this door, through the next door, and up the stairs. If I'm alone, I will enjoy my coffee and go on with my life. I am not alone. Alone or not, I have come to the end of my time here, and I now want to close with the hymn that my Seattle church sang together after each grown-up service, and it still rings true to me today. The tune is Finlandia, and you'll find the words on the back of the insert in your order of service. This is not the usual one that Unitarians sing, but it's close, and it's the one I used to sing, and therefore we're going to sing it. Yes? Just the one verse. We're going to really belt it out. You can do it twice if you like.
Thank you so much, Joan. I think there is a theme emerging here. Not only that the wind is blowing, the winds of change and all of that, but that you are not alone. None of us are alone. And deep down, I'm sure we rely on that. I'm sure in this church, for example, that when we're troubled and in need and afraid and are seeking care, that we can find it here. And that when we want to celebrate and honor the transitions and milestones in our lives, that we have a community to share those things with. As the reading goes, we need one another. All our lives, we are in need, and others are in need of us, because we are not alone. The best way I can think this morning to express that is in our offering. In addition to your pledges, which go toward maintaining this great institution, your offering in the collection plate sustains our good work and lets us do all those little extras that we strive to do or that come up in times of trouble and good in the world. So yes, $1 in the plate is good, 10 is better, 20 is terrific. And if you don't have cash on you, you can text to give. Get out your little phone, and this is good for those of you at home too. You just have to text, where is the number? 73256. 73256. Type in First U Prov and the amount you want to give. How easy can it be? So I've been asking Nancy in the office, are people doing this? You know, I'm very excited. I just discovered text to give myself. It's kind of like online shopping. Once you get going, there's no stopping you. So text to give, my friends. You are not alone. The offering will be now gratefully received.
And now I'd like to offer some invitations to this community. First off, the Spiritual Pathways registration begins this week. Please go to your Realm account or see the Interim Director of Religious Education, Mandy Neff, to sign your family up. Our monthly food pantries open tomorrow. That means we can use your help organizing the food that's in the atrium in the back of the church today after the service. If you are able, please join right after church and many hands make light work. Also in the atrium, Irene's Book Nook is open today with a 50% off book sale on selected titles. And don't forget to read The First Few Times. It's sent every Friday afternoon, and it has all the news about this congregation.
Oh, Miss Jones, do you have closing words?
The closing words are from Tom Alburn, who used to be the minister of this church. May God watch between you and harm in all the empty places you must walk. In the evening of life, you will be judged by love. Let all beings be happy.
Please join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words. We carry a flame of
Peace and love and hope until we meet again. Friends, I want to thank our guest, Nancy Rosenberg, for this morning. Yes, nice. And our closing song, many of you know, and if you don't, I believe there's blue cards in the pews with the words, and we'll be singing this for a few weeks, and as usual, just by the time you learn it by heart, it'll be time to change. But for the time being, let us sing our closing song, May Love Be Our Guide, your guide, our guide, whose guide? Your guide. May love be your guide.